words can begin to rewire our mind for success. Let's begin the conversation. First and foremost, excuse me, hit the wrong button. There we go. Let's begin the conversation first and foremost by commenting below that words create worlds. Words create worlds. I think it's extremely important for us to understand the power of our words, right? Words carry immense power. Remember that saying when we were younger, when they would say, sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never hurt me? It was never a statement that was untrue, more untrue, excuse me, than that statement in and of itself, right? Because words, they carry a great amount of influence, right? Words can start wars between nations. Words can get you canceled in the culture that we currently live in. Words can cause divorces. Words can break up friendships, right? Words can put you in a position where you lose your career. Words carry power. And what's most important are the words that we tell ourselves, right? The story that we echo in our mind, because the story that you tell yourself about yourself carries the greatest influence over your life. And what happens, family, is these stories that we create about who we are can often put us in a position where we feel disempowered. Now, to quickly define what I kind of classify a story to be, our stories are largely made up of our values, our beliefs, and the consistent emotions that drive us. Again, our story is largely made up of the value system that we have, the beliefs that we hold on to, and the emotions that consistently drive us. And for many of us, right, we create, again, these disempowering stories as to why we're not good enough, smart enough, loved enough, capable enough, or why we can't do certain things, why this won't work or that won't work, or why it only works for a certain amount of people or certain groups of people. And because we create these disempowering stories, we lose access to opportunities, right? And in many cases, we begin to shut off possibilities, preventing us from making progress towards the things that we really desire. Like somebody in this stream, whether you're watching this live or catching this on the replay, maybe you have great ambitions and maybe you have big dreams and things that you want to accomplish in the life that you've been gifted. But there's this story that you keep telling yourself that, hey, even though you dream it, you can't become it. Or even though you see it, you can't be it, right? You can never live that type of life. You can never live that type of dream or accomplish that specific goal, or you can never step into this career path. Who are you to think that you can start and launch a successful podcast? Who are you to believe that you can have a successful business? Who are you to believe that you can create a nonprofit and make an impact in your community, right? We have these disempowering stories that prevent us from moving closer towards where we ultimately want to be. Then one would ask, well, D1, okay, if it's a story that we tell ourselves, why don't we just change the story and ultimately create a different life? Yes, it's that simple, but it's not always that easy, because our mind is wired in a way where it becomes easy to remember our past, to remember our pain, to remember our problems, to remember what's happening in the present moment, right? Our current predicament. And in order for us to break the cycle, here's what we must do, family. We have to be intentional and we have to be focused and consistent, right? With literally expanding our possibilities in our mind. In fact, I'll put it this way. In order for us to experience the exciting world of greater possibilities, here's what we must do. You have to break the rules of your historical thinking. Because let's keep in mind, family, the strategies of success, like the blueprint of achievement, it's out there. But if you're telling yourself a disempowering story, what happens is that puts you into a negative state of mind, right? Because the story that you tell yourself will influence your state of mind, your mentality, your attitude, your mindset in any given moment. So you can be given the blueprint for success, but because you're telling yourself this disempowering story, you'll be ineffective as it relates to you executing that strategy. You guys follow along with me? Put some number ones if you guys are picking up what I'm putting down. Number one in the comment section. Again, the story that I tell myself will dictate the state of mind that I am in. And the state of mind that I am in will determine whether I'm effective at executing the strategy, right? Somebody may give you, hey, here's the steps that you need to take in order for you to accomplish this specific feat. Here's the steps that you need to take, right? The direction that you need to go in order for you to achieve this specific goal. But if you keep telling yourself, hey, I'm not good enough, I don't have what it takes, I'm incapable, you're telling yourself this disempowering story, that will put you in a negative frame of mind. In other words, you're discouraged, you're sabotaging yourself mentally, like you're beating yourself up with your words. And even though you have the strategy, you can't execute. Or in some cases, you can't even find the right strategy because your mind is so focused on your pain, your problem, and your past. So we have to reverse engineer this entire process and begin with the story that we are telling ourselves, right? Comment below. When you change your story, you can change your world. And I want you to declare that statement as you're stepping into this Monday. If I can change my story, I can change my world. It was 1964. You guys know I'm very, passionate about the sport of boxing. I competed for about 15 years. And when I started competing, right, I started doing research on all these different types of boxers. And of course, I came across the GOAT, arguably the greatest of all times that has ever stepped within the ring and competed. You guys know his name, Muhammad Ali, also known as Cassius Marcellus Clay, right? And in 1964, they had a documentary that was released about Marcellus Clay, right? Cassius Clay, also known as Muhammad Ali. It was entitled The Greatest. And in that documentary, Muhammad Ali said, I am the greatest. I call myself the greatest before I even knew I was. Now, think about that for a quick moment, family, okay? This is before he had his first professional bout. This is when he's running the streets of Louisville, Kentucky. This is before everybody knew his name or what he did or the value that he had to offer. This is before he started training intensely to become a heavyweight champion of the world. Before he got there, family, he was affirming the fact that I am the greatest. He said, I told myself I was the greatest before I knew I was. In other words, he began to call for things that were not as though they were. He began to speak things into existence, even though what he was speaking was not symbolic or parallel to his reality, right? He looked beyond his current circumstance, his current situation or current condition, and saw possibilities. He broke the cycle or the pattern of his thinking and created a new story for himself and said, I am the greatest. Even though you can't see it right now, even though there's no physical evidence of it existing right now, I see it in my mind. So I'm going to call for things as though they were. And that shaped his mindset, right? In other words, family, you got to see it before you see it or you're never going to see it, right? And you have to reinforce it with the words that you speak, right? And this is where I want to go with this conversation, where we're talking about the power of our affirmations, right? The hidden power that these affirmations take on, the influence that they have, the words that we speak, right? Think about the words that you speak on a habitual basis, the words that you consistently say. Ask yourself this very simple question. Who am I becoming when I speak these words? If you're always saying, I could never do anything or I could never achieve that, what type of person is that shaping you into when you make those statements? It's important for us to understand, family, that the thoughts that we think and the words that we speak, they form the blueprint of possibilities within our subconscious, right? Even though you're not consciously aware of it, right? Especially when you're making statements like I am, and we'll get to that here in a moment. Literally what you are doing are planting seeds within your subconscious. And this is dictating the possibilities or the capabilities that you can actually step into in the world in which you live. The book of life talks about there's life and death and the power of our tongue, right? You can either speak life or you can speak death. You can speak success or you can speak failure. You can speak confidence or you can speak doubt. And the wonderful thing about the words that we speak is you are in charge of which words you give mental consent to, right? Like, keep in mind, we're not going to be able to control every negative thought that runs through our mind, right? But we can stop those negative thoughts from controlling us because we have that personal power to determine which thought I'm going to allow to influence me, which thought I'm going to entertain, because what's entertaining you is training you, right? Which thought I'm going to give mental consent to. And when I give mental consent to thoughts that make me feel less than or not capable or incapable of handling certain situations, when I step into those moments, I'll be ineffective. I won't execute at a high level. I won't be able to perform at my best. But on the flip side, when we use Muhammad Ali as an example, right? As a young child, at a young age, when he said, I'm the greatest and I'm going to keep affirming this, I'm going to declare this, I'm going to speak this to existence. He had millions of people that doubted him. We don't have time to dive into his story. I love the story about how he became the heavyweight champion and he beat Sonny Liston, right? When everybody thought he was going to get killed in the ring, literally. Everybody thought that he was literally going to die. In fact, the promoter took out more insurance because he believed this kid from Louisville would not be able to sustain these punches coming from this heavyweight champion, in which that time was Sonny Liston. But because he kept speaking things into existence, what that did was, family, it created a deep conviction. He repeated these affirmations on a consistent basis. And as he said, it's the repetition of affirmations that leads to belief. And once that belief becomes a deep conviction, that's when amazing things begin to happen. In other words, you plant seeds within your mind of possibilities. And those possibilities become a conviction. That conviction becomes a belief. And your belief will always carry more power than your reality. In other words, it may not look like you can succeed, but if you believe you can get there, you'll find a way to overcome the challenge and rise above the struggle and create the results and the outcomes that you envision because you believe it. Because you maintain that mindset that I am the greatest. Let's quickly define affirmations, family. Then we'll dive into some strategies and some practices that will help us leverage the hidden power of those affirmations. I have here written in my notes, the definition of an affirmation is a statement that describes a goal in its already completed state, right? Not something that's a work in progress. No, it's something that you're affirming. This is finished. The job is done. There's no question about it. I do not doubt that this thing can happen. I firmly believe that this is something that I'm going to accomplish. Another definition is the action or process of affirming something or being affirmed. And the third one that I have is emotional support or encouragement. Now, what I want to briefly do, I want to highlight 7 principles to creating effective affirmations, right? Everybody comment below 7 in the comments. Let me know that you guys are still following along what we're discussing. Again, 7 principles for creating effective affirmations. Now, mind you, let me put this quick disclaimer out there. There's a difference between rules and principles, right? Rules and principles. Rules are mandates, right? Approach that you must take to get something done. Principles are more like guidelines, right? Or methods that you can apply that have been true, right? Proven on a consistent basis, right? You've created certain outcomes or a certain result, right? Because of this step-by-step process. It's not something that you must do. Here are some things that have actually worked over an extended period of time, right? So again, these 7 principles are essentially some things that you can apply to what you're doing as it relates to how you're showing up to each and every single day. First one that I want to offer to us, and as I briefly mentioned that earlier, is very important. This is probably arguably the most important. When you're creating effective affirmations, start with the words, I am. Everybody comment below, I am. Those 2 words begin one of the most important and influential statements that we can ever make, because what you place after those words, I am, will literally begin to shape your mindset. The way that the subconscious begins to work, right? When it hears the words, I am, it takes it as a command, right? In other words, when you say, I am the greatest, what that begins to do, family, is it begins to shape your identity. It begins to tell your mind, this is what we are a part of. This is what we're associated with. This is what we are connected to. And here's one of the principles of our mind, right? For those that are in our mastermind, we did a series, right, on the rules of our mind. And this principle is extremely important, right? Our mind is wired in a way where our behavior will always be consistent with our identity. We don't have enough time to dive into that principle right now, but to briefly highlight that, most people attempt to change their behavior without changing their identity. And because our mind is wired in a way where our behavior will always be consistent with our identity, if you only change your behavior, you only resort back to the behavior that's aligned with the identity that you established for yourself. Yeah, man, that packs a punch. Again, we don't have time to dive into that. Maybe later in a different broadcast, we'll dive into that. but not right now. But essentially what I'm saying is we start our affirmations with I am, because the subconscious begins to connect with that as a command. This is who you are. And this is why we must be very careful of the words that we place after I am. If you say I am a failure, your mindset will begin to wrap itself around you becoming a failure. If you're constantly saying I am not capable of handling certain things, then essentially your mind's going to put limits on your capabilities. But on the flip side, I am someone that can achieve great things. I am built to do the hard things. I am the greatest. Your mind is saying that's a command. Let's identify with a person that can do great things, that can handle challenging moments, that can bounce back from setbacks and failures and mistakes, all because you planted that seed within your mindset. The next one is this: use the present tense. Again, use the present tense. And if somebody would please be our what do you call it? Just type in the comment or type in the principles that I'm highlighting. I can't think of the word right now, but use present tense. In other words, describe what you want as though you already have it, right? As you're creating these affirmations, use the present moment, right now, existing, not something that's going to happen in the future. No, you want to identify with it right now. I am the greatest. Next one is stated in the positive. In other words, affirm what you want and not what you don't want, right? We don't want to talk about, hey, I don't want to be a depressed individual. I don't want to constantly feel anxious, right? I don't want to make a mistake, or I don't want to be stuck in the same position. No, these are things that we don't want. We don't want to give energy towards those things that we don't want. Direct your energy towards the things that you do want, right? I want to live a life of abundance. I want to prosper in everything that I do. I want everything that I touch to be blessed. I want to be able to expand the possibilities of my life. I want to be able to abide by the rules and the principles of wealth. I want to stay in alignment with my goals and my vision. Describe the things that you want. Next two, keep it brief and make it specific. And then the final two, include an action word ending with the ing, meaning it's an ongoing process. It's something that's happening continuously. Then the last one, and I'm trying to be respectful of everybody's time. So I'm kind of, if it sounds like I'm rushing through, I'm just trying to be respectful for everybody. Make sure you guys can get back to your goals. Then the last one is, it's very beneficial when we include at least one dynamic emotion or feeling, right? One dynamic emotion or feeling. So say, for instance, I have an example here. Someone may say, I'm maintaining my perfect body weight at 178 pounds. A better way to say that, when you're affirming that, I'm feeling agile, I'm feeling strong and great at 178. Here's why. Again, we don't have time to dive into the details of this, but what we have to understand is the subconscious mind communicates through the language of emotion, right? If I were to ask so many of us where you were September 11th, 2001, right? Like in the details, you can kind of describe where you were when you heard about, that disaster and the events that took place on that day, because the emotions were extremely high on that day. Subconsciously, it registered within your memory, right? Your mind has a connection to it because of the emotional attachment of that experience. If I were to ask you, hey, where were you on, September 7th, 2001? Many of us may not be able to recall, because maybe that day wasn't as emotional as September 11th. But essentially, when you begin to affirm things, right, with an emotional state that's high, what that does is the subconscious begins to pay attention and says, hey, this is something that we need to make note of. And this is extremely important, right? As you continue to affirm these things with a strong mental state, this influences you to change your story, right? What's at play here? You may have a disempowering story, but you're aiming to rewire it in a way where it's more empowering. The one that's going to win is the one that has the greatest emotion, right? Maybe in this disempowering story, you're afraid to start something new. You're afraid to step into new territory. But on the flip side, you're affirming something with a strong emotional state, right? Emotions like confidence and courage and passion and enthusiasm. I can handle the situation. I can move my life forward. I refuse to stay stuck in this circumstance. When you intensify those emotions, what that does is the subconscious says, hey, this is something that we need to pay attention to. This is something that we need to take on. And therefore, now the energy that you put off, that thought pattern that you begin to echo, But that positive story that you're saying and telling yourself, that will now take precedence above this disempowering story. I'm a living witness of this, family. I spent years believing and convincing myself that my words did not carry value. And the more and more I begin to speak, the more and more I begin to affirm my capabilities and the capacity that I have to provide value, that began to single out, right, neutralize this negative and disempowering story that I was telling myself. But essentially what I had to do, family, was I had to allow what I couldn't see with my physical eyes and what I can only see in my mind to gain more emotional intensity than what it was that I was feeling. Because at the end of the day, it's really boiling down to feelings, right? You feel afraid. You feel doubtful. And our feelings are often fickle, right? If you can feel doubtful, you can also feel confident. It's a matter of you changing the narrative in your mind and intensifying the emotions that you want to experience. In other words, here's what I'm getting at as we're talking about the hidden power of affirmations. And this will lead into our call to action as we're stepping into this week. I challenge each and every single one of us to begin to align your thoughts and your words with the life that you're aiming to experience. I know that's a difficult thing to do, right? I know it's a challenge because historically, for years, you may have been telling yourself this disempowering story, but today, I challenge you to disrupt that pattern. I want you to align your thoughts, your speech, the words that you begin to communicate to yourself with what you want to experience. Break the cycle right here, right now. I want you to create a vibration of positive energy, a vibration of power, a vibration of prosperity, of wealth, success, and abundance, and the things that you want to experience. Here's why. Because the more and more you create the vibration of having something, the faster and the more effectively you're going to start attracting it. As you create the vibration of you being a success story, as you create the vibration of you leveling up your life, as you create the vibration of you living a life of abundance, health, and wellness and prosperity, you're going to start attracting everything that's on that frequency. This is the hidden power of our affirmations. For many of us, what's been taking place is because you keep speaking the same words, you're creating the same outcomes. Because you can't solve a problem with the same level of thinking that created it. Right? If your thought is on the same frequency as your problem, you're only going to perpetuate that problem. But when you break that cycle and raise the frequency of your thought, now you can be on the frequency of a solution to solve this problem. But it all starts with you changing the story that you're telling yourself. And that starts right here, right now. So I challenge you, align your thoughts and your words with what it is that you're aiming to experience. And here's what we must do in order for us to be effective at doing this. You have to increase your awareness around your self-talk. One way to help us do this, get a journal, right? Get a notebook. Begin to write down those feelings or those thoughts that make you feel some type of way, that make you feel like you don't have confidence, that make you doubt yourself, that make you feel less than, inferior, inadequate, or insignificant. Write these thoughts down and begin to take these thoughts to court. Challenge them. Seek out the validity within these thoughts. And I can almost guarantee that these are just thoughts that you have just perpetually said to yourself. And there's no proof as to why you can't do certain things. It's just that you've echoed these things for a continuous amount of time. Someone once said, if you tell a lie big enough, loud enough, and long enough, sooner than later, you'll begin to believe it. And that's been the case with so many of us. You've told yourself things over and over again with a high amount of emotional intensity. And because you repeated these things consistently and you connected with them emotionally, whether you were afraid or doubtful or you felt some type of way, now this has become your truth. It's a part of your story. And you've wired your mind to believe these things. What I'm challenging us to do right now is to upgrade your identity, creating an identity shift by leveraging the power of affirmations. Speak what you want. Speak into existence the things that you're aiming to experience. Maybe, okay, you can't start with I am. Start with I am open to the possibility, right? I'm open to the possibility of me becoming wealthy. I'm open to the possibility of me becoming a more confident individual. What this does is now you're signaling to the subconscious, hey, there's a possibility that this can exist for us. The subconscious will now begin to search for things that are in alignment with what it is that you're speaking. Start with that if you can't start with I am, right? But nonetheless, don't be stuck with that disempowering story that you've been telling yourself. So to that one that has created this negative narrative, I challenge you this week, break this cycle of self-sabotage. Break the verbal abuse. Break this cycle of you beating yourself up with your words, where you feel less than, hopeless and helpless and powerless. But instead, I want you to start a new cycle. Create a new pattern. Align your thoughts with the life that you're aiming to experience. Don't look at the right now. Focus on what can be, right? Of course, we're living in the right now. Be aware of it. But that's not where I'm directing my focus. I'm directing my focus towards what it is that I want, because what I focus on will expand in my mind. And when it expands in my mind, now I'm changing the frequency of my thought. And as I level up my thoughts, I can create solutions to problems. I can rise above the challenges. I can learn from my mistakes. I won't actually be stuck in my frustration, but instead I'll find a lesson in that experience and move my life forward. This is mental fitness at its finest, family. But nonetheless, if you don't get anything else out of what I've talked about during this broadcast, I challenge you to align your thoughts and your words with what you are aiming to experience. Break the pattern of this negative thinking, this negative self-talk, right? This narrative that's been leaving you in a position where you're disempowered. If you want to live an empowered life, it starts with you changing the story that you're allowing to influence you. If you slid into this broadcast and I was unable to give you a shout out, be sure to comment below. And if in fact this is your first time, or maybe your first time in a long time tapped into the stream, comment below beginning with the number 1, but then place your first name afterward. Again, number 1, and then place your first name afterward. I missed a bunch of comments. My apologies, y'all. Nothing personal. I was just in the zone. I'll get to them here in a second. Ingrid, appreciate you being the teleprompter. That's the word I was looking for. Teleprompter. It's not difficult. Learning a new habit that will benefit you for sure. Chatney, I see you. Create an identity shift by leveraging the power of affirmations. Absolutely. Challenge of the week. Align your words to the things that you want to experience in your life. Match the frequency to what you want to have. Absolutely. If you guys found value in this conversation, please comment below with some fists. Let me know that you guys were picking up what I was putting down during this broadcast. Look at this music playing. Come on, Sheila. Starts right now. Starts right now, right? And remember, emotion has a large role in this, right? When you make up your mind, enough is enough. Like, this is where I'm drawing the line. Today I'm making a difference, right? Today I'm doing things differently. Today I'm going to create a shift. I'm no longer going to tolerate X, Y, Z, whatever that may be. I'm no longer going to tolerate this disempowering story. I won't tolerate doubt or fear. I've been missing out on opportunities. I've been feeling stuck in life. I should be further along than where I am right now, and I'm allowing this disempowering story to hold me back. I'm taking full responsibility. I'm not going to blame my circumstance, my pain, or my problems, or other people. I'm going to take full responsibility for my life, and instead what I'm going to do, I'm going to change the narrative in my mind and move my life forward. Many times it takes that, right? Change is often like a byproduct of you either being inspired, right? Or you're in a desperate situation. And for many of us in this broadcast, you may be in a desperate situation where your back is up against the wall and you have no other choice but to move forward, right? Like you've hit rock bottom. And I'm here to tell you, rock bottom is a great place to build a new foundation. Change the story in your mind. Change the narrative in your head and align it with what it is that you're aiming to experience. Now, this is simple, but it's not always easy, because what's at play is you may be at war with yourself. You may be at war with your past. You may be at war with your environment, right? There's a tug of war that's taking place, and you got to feed positivity, feed possibilities, feed your power. Continue to affirm who you are and what you're capable of. Don't define yourself based upon your past mistakes or your current situation. You're bigger and greater and better than that. I don't know who I'm speaking to this morning, but I challenge you to think bigger than your situation. Think bigger than your conditions. In fact, that's the first step to personal transformation, to look beyond what is and see what can be, and allow what can be to pull you in that direction. Allow the drive to make a positive change in your life, that power to push you towards where you're aiming to go. But that starts with you making the conscious decision, something's going to be different. A change in my life starts with the change within me. Yes, I see the fist coming up. Maria, I see you in the building. Great day to you. Appreciate it, Vita. Absolutely. Jen, I see you. Always on point. Excellent. Grateful that you found value in this conversation. But real quick, if everyone please would do this, a simple ask, okay? Share this out. You never know how something that we discussed can impact someone that you're connected to, right? One thing about the algorithms when we go live or you post a form of content, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, not everybody that we are connected to will get the notification. They won't see the post. You know, the algorithm must see that, hey, this is some form of value. So by you sharing this, commenting, by you liking, by you subscribing, it's going to signal to the algorithm that this is valuable content that other people need to be made aware of, right? So share this out with someone, tag this in someone in the comment section. For those watching this on Twitter, you may not be able to comment below, but you can still retweet this out to your network. And everybody watching this on YouTube, real quick, hit that like button. We truly appreciate that. And then copy and paste this link to the stream and share this out with at least 2 people that you personally know. Send it to them in a text message. Hey, take about 15, 20 minutes out to watch this message and dive into this content. I promise it's going to help change the way you think. I would truly appreciate that. Henry, Mr. Optimistic, is in the building. Salute to you, King. I hope all has been well with you your way. Incredible value today as always. Appreciation. Absolutely appreciate each and every single one of you all support. Got my beautiful wife tapped in. Great day to you, Angel. Thanks for tuning in. Share on your page and tag me so I can share on mine. Will do. Appreciate that. With that being said, family, if we've yet to connect on other platforms, what are we waiting for? Connect with your boy at D1 Gibson. That's on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Threads as well. Then also connect with me on LinkedIn if you're a part of that application. Also, what is that? Cash App is D1 Gibson as well. Many people ask me how they can donate or contribute to the mission. Cash App is D1 Gibson. And then elevationisAmust.com. Take advantage of all the free resources that are available there. I've got my books that are for sale on the shop online there on that website. Be sure to subscribe to the newsletter. Get some success practices and mindset shifts sent directly to your inbox. Be sure to tap in. And for those of you that have not connected with us on YouTube, be sure to subscribe. In fact, we have our documentary series on small businesses that will be released next month. Extremely excited about this project, family. We've put a lot of time, energy, and effort into this upcoming season. So that is exclusively for YouTube. If you are a small business owner, entrepreneur, aspiring entrepreneur, there's going to be immense value in every single one of these episodes. I cannot wait to share this upcoming season. So again, to be able to tune and tap into that, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you've yet to do so. More information on the mastermind will be sent out soon, Yusuf, for sure. I'll keep you guys posted on that. We took a little pause on that, but we'll be launching that very, very soon. If you guys really love the conversations on these streams and broadcasts, you would deeply love the sessions that we have within the mastermind, because we go into more depths on these practices and strategies and things that you can do to develop your mental fitness, to become emotional intelligent, to develop success practices that will align you with your vision, your purpose, and your goals. So I'll keep you guys up to date on that. But that being said, though, family, let's wrap this thing up, because remember, you got dreams to catch and success to create, so we all got to get busy being great. It's Monday, family. Let's take advantage of every single opportunity that our name is on this week. Let's step into this week with an effective mindset. In fact, be effective, be successful, live with some passion, and most importantly, join in with me, if you will, please, family. 3 pounds to your chest. 1, 2, 3. Be powerful. I'll see you all next week. That's Monday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But in the meantime, be amazing. Align yourself with where you're aiming to be. Talk that talk. Speak that empowering language that keeps you moving closer towards the life that you're aiming to experience. Peace.
I can see my shot is here, so now I'm gonna take it. Gotta get up, get out, time to stand up, get loud, time to rise up off the floor. And I'm stronger than ever now, can't hold me down no more. I'm waking up, 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 I'm waking up. So I'ma do it right now, yeah, I'ma do it right now. I ain't giving up and